Hey everybody, Bandicoot Commando here, and welcome back to Marvel Rivals. Last time, I read Mantis's lore story. Mantis fled. It basically tells her perspective of when she was imprisoned on the Collector's theme park. All she knows is that she just suddenly ended up there, and the Collector took full advantage of having her as a display. But with the help of Jeff and Psylocke, the three of them were able to escape, and well, there's better hope for them. Now, today, we're gonna read Mr. Fantastic's lore. Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards. Reed Richards believes that true strength comes from remaining flexible, both mentally and physically. Mr. Fantastic's elastic body, which can twist and stretch into any form with ease, is almost as impressive as his brilliant mind. I don't have any of his skins. Reed Richards. Reed Richards has one of the universe's most brilliant minds, but even a genius of his magnitude couldn't have predicted the interstellar incident that bombarded his friends and family with cosmic rays, granting them each extraordinary abilities. Mr. Fantastic's cellular elasticity allows him to stretch his body beyond all physical limits. But now he'll have to stretch his mind further than ever to build the time stream reintegration device and end this cross-dimensional crisis. Reality check. Dr. Reed Richards, the renowned scientist and adventurer, also known as the Mr. Fantastic, stood in his laboratory in the Baxter Building, closely examining a small crystal that his best friend, Ben Grimm, had recovered on one of his many excursions into lower Manhattan. Reed had his own theories about the strange energy stored within the glowing shard, but even the most brilliant man in the universe needed a second opinion every now and then, and Reed knew exactly who he had to ask for one. The most brilliant woman in any universe. Shuri, the Princess of Wakanda. Really? Thought you were going to ask your wife for the opinion. Not long after the time stream entanglement erupted across the multiverse, causing realities to collide and collapse, Reed had received an unexpected and urgent message from Wakanda. But it was not from the technologically advanced African nation that Reed and his fellow members of the Fantastic Four had long called their allies. Instead, this message came from a Wakanda located in another dimension. One where King T'Challa had taken his people to the edge of the universe and built a society that spanned the stars. Much like in Reed's own reality, T'Challa's sister, Shuri, was the driving force behind the intergalactic empire of Wakanda's scientific research. So it came as no surprise that she, too, had been tirelessly searching for a way to undo the damage caused by the time stream entanglement. Fortunately, she was not too proud to admit that she could not find the solution alone. Hang on a sec, I need to drink. After her initial communication was received, Reed and Shuri began to compare notes and hypotheses, bringing other trusted allies like Tony Stark into their fold. Eventually, they were able to build a time stream reintegration device that would theoretically be able to restore the damaged realities to their original state. Of course, finding an energy source potent enough to power the TRD would be nearly impossible, a topic which had become the source of much debate between the device's creators. Reed knew that deep inside these crystals, which had become known as chronovium by, by those studying them, were the key. But when he compared the data he had acquired from scanning this shard with recent test results gathered by Shuri, things just weren't adding up. He had to get to the bottom of this while there was still time left. You wanted to talk, Dr. Richards? A voice said from the other side of the computer screen. Ah, Shuri, Reed replied, as the screen lit up to reveal the face of his interdimensional ally. I'm glad you got my message. As always, when the Fantastic Four calls, Shuri said, Wakanda answers. Good, because answers are exactly what I'm seeking, Reed said, getting right to the point. We have both previously summarized that, that chronovium is a byproduct of the massive fluctuations in energy released by the time stream entanglement, correct? Yes, Shuri responded. In both of our realities, the second law of thermodynamics still holds true. Even chrono power seeks out the lowest energy state to stabilize itself. And these crystals have the lowest internal energy in either of our universes. But that's where the similarities end, Reed said. According to our data, at the very onset of the time stream entanglement, I had reason to believe that all chronovium across the multiverse shared the same basic structure. But now that our realities have continued to shift in unexpected ways, the properties of the chronovium found within them are shifting as well. The crystals I have recently analyzed here in Wakanda are proof of that, Shuri replied. It seems the energy from the vibranium star at the heart of our empire has strengthened our form of chronovium far beyond what was seen in earlier samples. The same goes for the chronovium in my dimension, Reed added. The dark magic that is holding New York City in a state of eternal night has permeated the chronovium crystals found here. Tony has started calling it blood chronovium. It's a bit dramatic, but I suppose it gets the point across. Indeed, Shuri said, and it makes me wonder how many other forms may be out there, in whatever universes still remain. And that is one of the reasons why I called you, Reed said. If we can begin to catalog how many other universes, chronoverses, Shuri interjected. That is what we here in Wakanda are calling the fractured realities, created by the time stream entanglement. Of course, Reed continued, if we can catalog how many other chronoverses there are out there, perhaps we can get a better understanding of the current state of the multiverse, as well as the other types of chronovium that might be at our disposal. I have identified at least one other reality beyond our own, Shuri responded without hesitation. Recently, Captain America arrived here in Wakanda seeking refuge. Reed paused for a moment as Shuri spoke. The Captain America he had known had fallen in battle not long ago, and the entire world was still reeling from the loss. Logically, Reed was well aware that every reality likely had its own variant of Steve Rogers, but knowing that one was currently residing in Wakanda offered a sense of hope that Reed hadn't felt in far too long. Unlike the Captain America that both my father and brother proudly fought alongside over the years, Shuri said, this Stephen Rogers claimed that he had been frozen during World War II and had not been reawakened until the year 2099. That's not the first time I've heard that date mentioned, Reed noted. Our Spider-Man told me that he was visited by one of his alternate reality counterparts, a young woman who calls herself Spider-Zero. She claimed to be from the year 2099 as well, and asked for his help to repair a dimensional nexus point known as the Web of Life and Destiny. Fascinating, Shuri said, taking notes as she talked. Based on Captain America's intel, we also believe that this future timeline may be may be a gathering point for mutants whose home realities have ceased to exist. His ally, Wolverine, claimed he resided on a time-displaced island nation called Krakoa. Curious, Reed muttered as he pondered Shuri's words. Our Krakoa vanished without a trace when the time stream entanglement hit us. Could the living island in that chronoverse be one and the same? I will see if the captain or his allies can coerce Wolverine into sharing any further information, Shuri said. Allies? Reed asked. Steve brought along friends? Not quite, Shuri said. My own chronoverse has been facing a number of its own challenges of late, including a growing darkness that is spreading rapidly across the star systems. I had initially sent the Guardians of the Galaxy to investigate its origin point on a distant planet called Clentar, but I have lost contact with them. In order to prepare for whatever may be coming our way, T'Challa and I asked Stephen to gather some trusted allies from across time and space, including a few from your own timeline, Hawkeye and the Winter Soldier. Interesting, Reed said. Tonya told me that they both went missing after an incident at a remote Hydra base. You'll be glad that they made it out alive. I certainly was, Shuri responded. I believe they will prove to be valuable allies in the days ahead. I fear this darkness is already tainting Wakanda. Even the gods themselves are not safe from its corruptive influence. Speaking of gods, Reed said, as Shuri's words trailed off, the Asgard in my timeline has become something entirely new. Their world tree, Yggdrasil, has grown and merged with the Golden Realm to create Yggdrasgard, and according to reports, Loki is already trying to take advantage of the situation. No surprise there, Shuri said. But the Asgardians aren't the only pantheon in disarray, Reed continued. Stephen Strange recently returned from a trip through the astral plane, where he says he communicated with one of the heroes from yet another dimension, one where powerful deities were locked in an endless war for omnipotent power and total control. So that gives us at least 4 chronoverses then, Shuri said, examining her notes. That we've identified thus far, yes, Reed replied. And as they continue to collapse and intertwine, I have a feeling that they will start to become ever more dependent upon each other for survival. With so few timelines left, Shuri said, we cannot risk losing any more of them. That is exactly why my brother chose to pay a visit, it should say to your world. A visit to your world. I hope his delivery provide is useful in your efforts. T'Challa came here? Reed said, clearly puzzled. When? He left Wakanda a week ago, Shuri said, her usual calm and collected expression, suddenly giving way to one of deep concern. I calibrated our cross-dimensional teleporters myself. I am certain he arrived safely in the New York of your reality. Arrived safely, perhaps, Reed said, dismayed, but anything could have happened after that. Our city isn't exactly as safe as it used to be, after all. The curse that locked us in a permanent nocturnal state allowed certain factions that had formerly been regated to the shadows the opportunity to seize power. Vampires, Shuri said, fully aware of the problem. T'Challa had hoped to offer you a sample of our own heart-shaped herb as a means of developing a cure of this plague. But if he has fallen victim to it, then... Don't worry, Your Majesty, Reed responded. Like you said, we're in this together, and when Wakanda calls, the Fantastic Four answers too. I pray to the Orisha that we are not too late, Shuri said solemnly. For all of our sakes. That was honestly that lore felt more like one big exposition of explaining all the different chronoverses of the different maps and objectives and everything. They basically went over, everything. Yigsgard, Tokyo, and of course Shuri mentioned what's going on in Wakanda and Clintar, and they briefly brought up the Hydra base incident, and Reed was talking about the, problems going on in New York. And well, yeah. One thing that caught my attention though was it mentions gods that are fighting for omnipotence, which is making me wonder if that will become a future season, like season 3 or 4. We'll have to wait and see, but for now, that will do for this episode of Marvel Rivals. So, join me next time as I record this, season 2 is up and going, and I may or may not be able to get to Emma Frost. If I can get to Emma Frost, then yeah, I will record her gameplay. If she's not available right away, even though I highly doubt that she'll be available like a week later or something, but if she is not available right away, then we'll jump to Moon Knight's lore story instead. It's going to be one of the two. It's either going to be Emma's gameplay or Moon Knight's lore. One of the two. We'll just find out. I'll find out by then. But that is it, and I will see you guys next time.